The following program may contain subject matter and language suitable for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
And welcome back to another edition of The Meltdown. My name's Norm.
My name's Jeff.
And today we're talking about virtual reality, or VR, as it's known in the world. And you know, virtual reality is kind of a cool thing because it allows you to be places and do things that maybe you couldn't do. Yeah. This is our second time running through this. And the first time I asked you, if you could take a trip anywhere, where would you go in virtual reality land? And you can either say what you said before, or you can say something different.
Well, it's still true, even though some people think it's boring. But I would like to go back in time to like 1956 in Ottawa and to see all the railways downtown and the trains and all that. That would be,
And I said, I would love to go to Mars.
Yeah, that's cool too.
That would be cool, you know. But anyway, a history buff, absolutely. Going back in time, seeing something, living life the way it was before would be amazing. Yeah. And with virtual reality, you can do that. But some people are saying that VR is maybe an escapist kind of a activity that might take you away from reality. I don't know if that's true. Depends on if you're hooked on it or not, I guess. Yeah. But we're going to be looking at some VR facts today, plus a loose air chain, and we'll be here with a Meltdown Minute. And for our stupidness, we're going to read a bit of an article from a guy that's, let's just say, not a fan of virtual reality. So let's begin the show the way we always do. Real or not, Jeff, take us to our first segment.
Oh, it's time for a Meltdown Fun Fact. Well, maybe more than one. It's time for Meltdown Fun Facts.
All right, here we go. Here's some really interesting facts. 9 facts you didn't know about virtual reality. You ready, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, number 1. The first VR headset came out in the 1960s. Coined as the telesphere mask by inventor Morton Hellig, this device features stereoscopic or 3D TV, wide vision, and true stereo sound. 1960s.
That's a long time ago.
And that was the decade of hallucinogenics. People were all about hallucinating in the 60s. This must have fit in just... Yeah. I'm not surprised it was actually invented in the 60s. Yeah. Here's fact number 2. According to Markets and Markets, the VR market was valued at $5.1 billion in 2017. Fact number 3, VR isn't all about games and entertainment. Virtual reality is being used in the healthcare field to treat depression, anxiety, autism, PTSD, and even nicotine addiction with mind coatine.
No.
I don't know what mind coatine is.
Sounds like mind coding. Well, coat your mind.
It could be that.
With virtual reality.
Sounds good to me. I'll take it.
It's like a mud pack.
Virtual mud pack, Jeff.
Virtual mud pack, yeah. It's not really on your face.
Here's fact number 4. Jaron Lanier created a virtual reality device in the 1980s called iPhone, EYE Phone 1 HRX, and costed up to $49,000 for the goggles and gloves. Wow. That's a bit of an investment, I think. $49,000. You'd have to really want to be a VR kind of person.
You couldn't be virtually rich. You'd have to be actually rich to get the virtual reality goggles for free.
Very good point, Jeff. Good point. Here's fact number 5. Virtual IO created a $1,000 pair of virtual reality glasses called eyeglasses in 1995. And that would be the letter I in glasses. Here's fact number 6. Startup Varjo is creating a bionic display that lets you see VR as clearly as you see the real world because it works just like the human eye does. Now, here's, as an aside, if there was a way to tap in to the brain with virtual reality and these things that can see the world, that could, in fact, maybe cure blindness or allow people who can't see to see.
Yeah.
And I wonder if something like that is actually being worked on right now.
I would imagine that. Well, there's the theory. I mean, so why can't that be reality? So,
Yeah, you just gotta
that would be cool.
find that right circuit to hook up to, right? And I mean, I'm no surgeon, but I'm sure there's a circuit.
But you played one on TV once, didn't you?
I did. Well, actually, I was a psychologist, but same thing.
All right, yeah.
Here's fact number 7. PSVR headset was developed from Sony engineers tinkering in a lab building quietly without any executive direction. Fact number 8. VR headset models are moving from computer and phone power to standalone, so no other device needed to jump into VR. That's kind of cool. Yeah. And our last Meltdown fun fact for VR today.
Okay.
Virtual reality is expected to reach $34 billion by 2023, according to Markets and Markets, and a combined total of $94 billion, including augmented reality, by 2023. Oh. So, I mean, it's maybe it's a thing to think about investing in the VR market. Who knows? Maybe that's a thing to do.
I should ask friends of mine, relatives of mine that do invest in the stock market, if they got anything.
Why don't you do that, and then you report to us on the next show?
Back, yes.
Well, not the next show, but the show after that. And of course, you know what we're coming up to. This is we're coming up very soon to our finale, where we sit down with Lou and talk about stuff. What do you think we should talk about with Lou? What would be a good subject?
Bugs Bunny cartoons. Okay, I'm kidding.
You want to do another? You want to do another round of animation? That could be fun.
Yeah,
that could be fun.
Okay, let's do another round.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, that's okay.
You're the whiz. You're the whiz.
Okay.
That's it for fun facts. What's our next segment, Jeff?
Our next segment is a Meltdown Minute with Lou.
This week, the boys are talking about virtual reality, which is a topic that I'm fascinated by, simply because I don't, much like a lot of other stuff in life, I don't really get it. The amount of time that people spend building a make-believe world, because that's what we're talking about, where their roles in that world are greater than they feel their roles in this world are. And truthfully, it's not meant as a judgment, but there's a part of me that feels like that's a little bit sad, because it points to a disconnection, right? It points to a lack of community. It's fascinating to me that somebody will spend 8, 10, 12 hours playing Warhammer or whatever the game may be. Why not? And here's a suggestion. Spend that same time just thinking out loud, working on your own life.
Thank you, Lou. And now it's time for some Meltdown stupidness.
All right, for our stupidness today, we're going to be reading from an article. It's called "It's Time to Break Up with VR." Okay. It's a commentary. More than 2 years into the current virtual reality era, it feels like we've hit a brick wall, and it's by Dan Ackerman. So these are excerpts from his actual article. We'll put the words up on the screen for you so you can read along. And here we go. Dear VR, it's not me, it's you. We've had some good times, we've had some motion sickness, we've bumped into a few walls, but after giving you the benefit of the doubt for the past 2 years, it's time to throw in the towel. Virtual reality may yet become a massive mainstream hit, but it's not going to happen with this generation of tech. I say this with more than a little regret. As a true believer in the promise of VR, I was a textbook early adopter, pre-ordering both the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive on day one. I also grabbed one of Sony's PlayStation VR headsets as soon as they were available. Naturally, I later added the Oculus Touch controllers for the Rift and the deluxe audio strap accessory for the Vibe. And as a little aside, I have no idea what any of these things are, so I'm not as nerdy as Dan Ackerman.
Maybe the Vibe is the actual feeling, the physical feeling you get when you're...
I have no idea. Let's continue. My VR obsession goes back even further than that. I was one of the first people to see and try the original Kickstarter Oculus Rift prototype back in 2012, when I was blown away by what was essentially a pair of ski goggles with a screen shoved inside. But after years of hype and promises, the initial limitations and roadblocks of these VR systems remain largely unchanged. Note, I'm speaking of PC and console-based VR right now. Mobile VR, like the Gear VR and new Oculus Go, is a separate category with potentially more future upside, but also its own lifelong list of problems and limitations. Locomotion inside VR games and apps remains a major issue, and just moving around inside virtual environments requires awkward point-and-click workarounds, usually in the form of VR teleportation, to avoid motion sickness. You're still tethered to a computer or console via a big cable, a cable that you're definitely going to trip over, fight with, or yank out of its ports on a regular basis. More than a year after the first workable demos of wireless VR, that's still a pipe dream. Sure, it's coming someday, but not soon enough. For early adopters, it'll be a heavy, expensive, and clunky add-on at best, such as promised WiGig's wireless transmitter from HTC. So far, the most practical untethered solution I've tried is so incredibly complex, you might think I'm making it up. HP, MSI, and other PC makers have released an entire gaming computers that strap onto your back like a backpack, complete with a battery pack utility belt that would make Batman jealous. It's as ridiculous as it looks, especially as these backpack rigs are nearly impossible to set up and put on without a friend standing by as your personal VR caddy. Even if you stay anchored to your desktop or laptop computer, you're still looking at spending hundreds or thousands for a compatible gaming PC. The most damning thing I can say about the current generation of VR is that 2 years ago I said the best VR game I'd found was a free indie game about multiplayer paintball called Rec Room. Cut out 2 years later, and the best VR game you can play is still a free indie game about multiplayer paintball called Rec Room. So I guess, that's a good lesson, isn't it? I mean, the more things change, the more they stay the same, and I guess they've basically got what they've got with virtual reality, and they haven't made any giant strides, which is what Dan is saying in this article. The giant strides haven't come yet. And it's interesting. I don't understand an awful lot about the VR technology. I'm not really into it. Yeah. But it seems to me that they've kind of got complacent in where they've come, and they've developed this thing, and they've got this thing, but it's kind of like TV, it was black and white for the longest time, and now it's got color. But, we didn't stop at just color TV. Today we've got HD TV and 4K HD, right? It's getting sharper and sharper and brighter and more brilliant. And you have to wonder where it's going to go from here. But it always has to improve, right? That's the whole point of creation, is always improving. You're always improving something. Anyway, that was an interesting look at virtual reality, and I think I asked. Maybe I didn't ask the question this time around on the show, but are we VR or are we real? Are you inside your computer right now? Or are we, are we like what do you call those things? Not anime, but
claymation.
No, I think you could tell if we were claymation, Jeff, because we'd be anyway. Let's take a vacation from this topic. And in fact, next week, let's take a vacation together on the Meltdown. We're going to be talking about vacations.
All right.
Right? I mean, what else? What other better, amazing thing can you do than take a vacation? Get away from your regular life and all this good stuff. We've got some interesting facts about travel. Lou Saracino will be back with us again. And then we've got, for our stupidness, we've got, get this, some actual vacation complaints that people have submitted, okay? And you know what? If you're able to take a vacation, people, any complaint you have is really a first world problem, right? If you're one of the lucky ones that can actually get the hell out of winter for a while and go somewhere warm, shut up. That's all I got to say. Yeah. So until next time, I'm Norm.
And I'm Jeff.
And this has been the Virtual Meltdown.